Today we're going to look at the buy, sell, holds, and trades from Week 8 by going game by game, matchup by matchup, and looking at the box scores and dropping takes from the red zone, the cliff notes of the cliff notes. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're going to be going hot and heavy on the waiver wire this week. We're going to use these videos to help you set your lineups. And then we're going to go deep on the trending players on the waiver wire with the You Need series on the deep dives. Click that button. Stop missing out. You know Ric Flair's watching. Do not disappoint Ric Flair. Click that right now. We're going to start off. Bengals, Eagles. We said this was going to be a high-scoring game. We got points there. And Saquon Barkley went off again. Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown looked good. Devonta Smith got the touchdown. Grant Calcaterra, if you were hurting a tight end, it's National Tight End Week, and he got you some points. Same thing with Mike Gesicki. He went off 73 yards and 7 catches. Jamar Chase was Jamar Chase. We got to see some Jermaine Burton. We've been waiting on that. 1 catch for 41 yards. Chase Brown, 2 catches. Zach Moss, 4 catches for 28 yards. Yoshi, 3 targets, but nothing out of that. Eric All got a little bit of work. We're looking at the running backs here. Chase Brown, 32 yards and a touchdown. Zach Moss, not much, but the Eagles were up. They were scoring. They were flying high. They crushed it in the second half, but we got the points out of this matchup to get fantasy production. Browns, Ravens. This one was a high-scoring game. This one hit the over, and Jameis Winston was our prince on Sunday. Throwing up them air yards, throwing up them YOLO balls, getting it done. Nick Chubb, 52 yards on the ground. Considering his knee was torn in half this time last year, I'll take that. Deonta Foreman got some work. Jameis Winston, 2 yards on the ground. Cedric Tillman went off. He won a lot of weeks this week in fantasy football. Elijah Moore was a sneaky start in the sneaky start video. 8 catches, 85 yards. Jerry Jeudy getting volume. You're starting your Browns, and you're just going to see what happens every week. You need a Browns player pretty much. David Njoku getting it. Your key companions here from the Browns are getting your fantasy production. Rashad Bateman, like I said, Will Fuller effect. You're either going to get here or you're going to get here. And since we were getting here, you're more than likely going to end up here closer to now because we've been recently hitting. He's due to bounce back because that's what the air says is going to happen. Zay Flowers is him like he's always been. Isaiah Likely, it was his game. Mark Andrews got the touchdown. Nelson Aguilar's back from the dead for a little bit, but it was not enough to get the job done. Derrick Henry, 73 yards and a touchdown on top of catching 1 ball for 4 yards. So good enough for fantasy production, good enough to get you through the week. Lamar Jackson, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Jameis Winston steps in, gives this Browns team some life. This was not a bad Browns team. This Browns team has some pieces. This Browns team set on defense. This Browns team has some things on offense, some weapons. If Nick Chubb can start ramping back up with these wide receivers, Jameis Winston going YOLO in the passing game, we could have some fun football for the rest of the year. Titans, Lions, and the Lions were ragdolling this Titans in the start of the game. Mason Rudolph, look at him. He had some moments where he's on the up, but he also had some moments where he was on the load. Tony Pollard, 94 rushing yards. Couldn't cross the goal line, though. And we got some work with Julius Chestnut here. But Calvin Ridley, 10 catches, 143 yards. We were waiting for this to happen. He was getting targets. He was getting air yards. And it's like he's back at Jacksonville. A lot of nothing, then boom, pops off. A lot of nothing, then boom, pops off. We got another Will Fuller effect with Calvin Ridley because he's earning a lot of targets, though, and air yards. It's just he's getting a lot of shitty passes going his way, affecting his production. Tony Pollard, 3 catches, 23 yards, so 9, 12. So he got you about 15 fantasy points. I'm not mathing myself up there. Sam Laporta got you a touchdown. About time he hit on you. And it was the tight end show here for the Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown got you a touchdown. May not be enough for you for the fantasy production. Jahmyr Gibbs had another big game, and he's going off this year. Nasty these last couple games. Jared Goff, 85 yards. We saw some Hendon Hooker. Mason Rudolph, good enough for fantasy, but not good enough for NFL. Lions, 52-14. Lions came out strong today. Dolphins, Cardinals, this one was a fun one. It came down to the end. Kyler Murray, over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 19 yards rushing. James Conner comes in, 53 rushing yards and a touchdown, but 2.7 yards per carry. It's okay for fantasy football. Efficiency does not matter for fantasy football. We got the job done. Trey Benson, 1 carry, 10 yards. He's a stash. That's it. Trey McBride, everybody started him. Marvin Harrison Jr. is back. A touchdown, 111 yards, 6 balls caught. Michael Wilson got a touchdown as well. James Conner caught 2 balls for 16 yards. On the Dolphins side, Tyreek Hill's back. 6 catches, 72 yards. He's got that Tua power. Devin Achane, a touchdown. 6 balls caught, 50 yards. So we're getting work in the passing game. Jalen Waddle getting a little bit of work, but we need some more out of him for fantasy football. Scrolling up here, Devin Achane getting it done in the rushing attack. Raheem Mostert got 2 touchdowns in this matchup. If he's there on waivers, pick him up. Jalen Wright's a rocket. 9 yards per carry. One of the bigger stashes in the National Football League. Tua's back. The Dolphins are back scoring fantasy points. Jets, Patriots, we got more points than expected. 25-22. The Patriots take it home. The Jets take another L. Even though they traded for Devonta Adams and company. Breece Hall got you 80 yards on the ground. Braylon Allen, 2.7 yards per carry. 12 carries for just 37 yards, but we got that touchdown. Fantasy points is all that matters here, and we got a little bit of something. Garrett Wilson. A lot of people hung him out to dry, but 5 catches, 113 yards. Devonta Adams got you about 9.5 fantasy points here. It's okay. Got the job done, but you're not feeling too great about it. Keon Butte, we said to watch him. We got 6 targets, 3 balls caught, 46 yards. Hunter Henry. He's been getting a lot of volume with Drake May. 5 catches, 45 yards, but Drake May got hurt in this matchup. Brissett had to come in, 132 yards passing, though. The offense is going to go back the way it was if May's out for a bit. But Drake May getting it done on the ground, 46 rushing yards and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson, 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the rushing yards wasn't efficient, but we got our 2 touchdowns. Fantasy points is all that matters here. But watch Keon Butte. Watch him. He needs a unique video. He may not be that great for fantasy football due to the situation. If you're in a deep league here, you're looking for a wide receiver here on redraft, this is a guy to look at. This is a Moneyball play. I'm that fat kid in the glasses at Moneyball saying his only defect is he plays for the Patriots and he had a bum ankle coming out of LSU, but Keon Butte has the goods. Falcons, Bucks, and there's a lot to unpack here. We're going straight to the Bucks wide receivers in the passing game, and we got the Elder Scrolls here. Cade Otton, big time pickup. Should have been picked up a long time ago because honestly he's been getting a lot of work. One of the top tight ends when it comes to fantasy production. 10 targets going off. Raheem Jarrett, former 5-star recruit from Maryland. We know about Raheem Jarrett. 3 catches, 58 yards. And I was in Canton, Ohio, talking up Raheem Jarrett in the Debbie Conference back in the day. Falls in the draft. But here we are. We might be making a resurgence here. Hopefully, but Bucky Irvin, 7 catches, 40 yards. Rachaad White, 5 catches, 38 yards. One thing we were talking about was it might go to the tight ends and running backs because those are the veterans in there. But still, we're trying to hash some things out here in the passing game. Jalen McMillan got 7 targets. So if you're upset about the 4 catches for 35 yards, we did get volume in this matchup. He is a volume getter. Trey Palmer is a deep ball getter. 2 catches, 29 yards, 14.5 yards per reception here. Something to look at. We're looking at Sterling Shepard. He's getting volume as well. He is getting volume. There's a lot of volume in this matchup. Remember the last time these two teams played. The running backs got work in the passing game, so they went back to that. Cade Otton got work in the passing game. They went back to that. They went back to what happened last time they played the Falcons. Sean Tucker, we got to do a report on him. 2 carries, 3 yards. He's going to be a thorn in Rachaad White's and Bucky Irving's side in the right matchup. Usually when the Bucks are going to be ahead of the Falcons, when they don't have to be playing in catch-up mode. the thing about that, it ain't going to be happening too much because Chris Godwin's gone, Mike Evans is gone. But he'll get his opportunity in spurts, but it ain't going to happen much for where you're going to love it for fantasy football. Bucky Irvin, Rachaad White, those are the duo. We're back to them splitting the workload. In matchups like this, it doesn't matter because they're going to get enough workload in the passing game. Bijan Robinson, 13 carries, 63 yards. Tyler Algier, 12 carries, 33 yards. Tyler Algier, underrated handcuff here. Ray McCloud got a carry. Darnell Mooney got a touchdown. 5 catches, 92 yards. Pitts was scoring big time. That long touchdown that we saw in the red zone. 2 touchdowns, 4 catches, 91 yards. You were starting Pitts. Bijan Robinson, stellar in the receiving game, though. 6 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown. That's where he excels. He excels in space. And if you look at the next-gen starts week to week, they try to get him on the outside in space when running the ball. And, of course, they're trying to use him more in the passing game. Drake London got work, but did not equate to fantasy production. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's just football. Ray McCloud was a miss for me. He got 3 targets, caught all of them for 9 yards. I was expecting more volume. But again, the game script didn't really push that way. That's something I should have put in account for when looking at that for the ancillary players, considering Chris Godwin and Mike Evans was out. And I knew that. I knew better than that. I've said that before in other matchups. But it is what it is, says Max Holloway. 30-27, Green Bay Packers taking home. This was a nail batter with the Jaguars here. Going over to Jordan Love. He goes out with his game. And 196 yards and an interception. Malik Willis comes in. If Malik Willis is playing next week or down in the future, he's a guy to look at off waivers if you're hurting at quarterback because he will get you some rushing production. Josh Jacobs. Like we said, he was a start because running back scored points against the Jaguars. He scored points against the Jaguars. 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Manny Wilson was their sneaky start. It wasn't supposed to hit, but a guy you're watching or starting if you're really hurting or in like a 16-plus teamer. But 5 yards on the game. Not looking good, but it is what it is. Tucker Kraft got a touchdown and 78 yards. Romeo Doubs. People were acting like he went nuclear. 3 catches, 72 yards. Good enough to get the job done in fantasy football, but not good enough to win your week. 2 for 55 for Reed. I think I had a start-sit decision or start-sit question with those two, and I told him to go with the gut. I don't think the gut really mattered. I think if you went with either player, you were all right. Doubs did win it, though. Wicks got a little bit of work. Mainly Watson, Reed, and Doubs. Carousel effect. Any of them can get it. It was kind of spread out in this game. Brian Robinson. 3 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Christian Kirk got hurt in this matchup. 2 catches, 59 yards. We're watching Brian Thomas Jr. as well. Parker Washington, 3 catches, 46 yards. Remember him from last year, the Penn State wide receiver who had a few moments last year to tail end of the season. You might be looking at him. He had 4 targets in this game. You might be paying attention to him with Christian Kirk out. That being said, that might be a deep waiver wire option, or we're going to be talking about him here in the next few days when we look at these wide receivers. Tank Bigsby, 78 yards. ETN not there. Dearness Johnson, barely any work, but you look in the passing game, 1 catch, 20 yards. The Packers taking it home. We might be looking at Malik Willis again. Colts, Texans, and Anthony Richardson, not looking good. Completed 10 of his 32 pass attempts, missing on some big throws. Jonathan Taylor comes back, 105 yards and a touchdown. The swan song himself, Josh Downs, 109 yards, 1 touchdown. Caught 4 of those completions. So 40% of his completions. The rest, Michael Pittman, 1 ball caught. Trey Sermon, 1 ball caught. Jonathan Taylor, 1 ball caught. Alec Pierce, 1 ball caught. A.D. Mitchell was missed on some targets here. I mean, he got 4 of them, but I noticed them from the red zone. He had a bad one. It was like a curl route, a comeback, and it was like 10 feet in front of him, 10 yards in front of him almost. Stephon Diggs did what Stephon Diggs was. 5 catches, 81 yards. Dalton Schultz got a lot of run in this game. 6 targets, 4 catches, 52 yards. I said that name all crazy. Tank Dell, 4 catches, 35 yards, and a tutty. Looking solid there. John Mechie got some work here. Joe Mixon went off, 102 yards and a touchdown. Looking good. Fantastic. He's been on a roll. 3 straight games going off. CJ Stroud, up and down game, but the volume pulled through. We got good fantasy production out of him. 285 yards and a touchdown. Saints, Chargers, and Derek Carr needs to come back. Spencer Rattler bad. Jake Hayner's bad. Not looking good for the passing game. Chris Olave got work, though. 8 catches, 107 yards. 14 targets. Kamara got 11 targets. At least they knew to target the studs. If not, this would have been really bad. 26-8 here. Alvin Kamara, 67 yards on the ground. Taysom Hill, used in the run game, the pass game. Also caught some balls here. Over to the Chargers side. Dobbins, 57 yards and a touchdown. Good enough to get the job done. Justin Herbert, Konami code here of 49 yards. Kamani Vidal, 2.7 yards per carry. You're not loving that, but he's a handcuff, so it is what it is. Lad McConkey had that long touchdown. Also got another one. 6 catches, 111 yards. Joshua Palmer, 4 targets in this matchup. Will Dissly, 5 catches, 41 yards. Another good outing out of him. J.K. Dobbins using the passing game as well. Jalen Reagor pops up there. But again, Derek Carr needs to come back for the Saints. It's killing their season. Justin Herbert, 279 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Bills, Seahawks. Bills take this one 31-10. They're 6-2 on the season. The big thing I want to know is Keon Coleman mossing that dude in the end zone. 5 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Khalil Shakur, 9 catches, 170 yards. Amari Cooper, quiet in this one. Dawson Knox got a little bit of work. Dalton Kincaid got more targets and catches over him, though. Jackson Smith and the Jigba was alright. He got about 12 fantasy points. Kenneth Walker going off in this game and catches like he's been these last few weeks, but not mounting the fantasy production. 7 here, about 8 points, not good enough. You're due a downer, plus you're trailing, so you got to throw it more. The game script wasn't great for the rushing attack for the Seattle Seahawks, but Zach Charbonnet, 3 balls caught, 20 yards. You're looking at Jake Bobo getting some action, but it was the Jackson Smith, the Jigba show here for the Seattle Seahawks. They weren't getting it done, though. Only 10 points scored, and Zach Charbonnet got the touchdown. Geno Smith, 212 yards, threw a pick, completing 21 of his 29 pass attempts. Bills rout in this matchup. Panthers, Broncos, and the big story is Bryce Young. He was okay in the start of the game. It was a lot of completed passes, just a lot of short ones, but Bo Nix was a monster. 285 yards and 3 touchdowns, looking good. 5 carries, 4 yards, and a touchdown. He's got a little bit of that Konami code to him. On top of that, Jaleel McLaughlin got some run. Javonte Williams got some run. We split up the load here. We got a little bit of Audric Estime. Cortland Sutton goes off. Adam Trotman enters the chat. A tight end that we loved from back in the day. After that, it's pretty quiet. We're watching Troy Franklin. 1 catch for 6 yards, 2 targets. So we were quiet. We also get the rushing attempt. That being said, we're looking over here at the Panthers side. Jalen Coker, one of our favorite dart throws in Dynasty. 4 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Might want to look at him off waivers. We talked about him in the must start. It was between him and Xavier Legette we were looking at. Those two getting a lot of work. At one point, Miles Sanders was leading this team in receiving. 7 catches for 38 yards. That's something to note when the Panthers are trailing this much. We saw this in week 1 with Bryce Young. Miles Sanders getting a lot of workload. That's not to be surprised. 7 catches, 38 yards. He got you 10 fantasy points. He's not a guy to pick up off waivers if you're chasing points. He's just not a guy to pick up off waivers if you're chasing points. Just do not do that. 15 carries, 56 yards for Chuba Hubbard in this game. It just was not the right matchup for him. Tough defense, playing from behind. It is what it is. Chiefs Raiders. This game was tighter than expected, but a fun one to watch. Patrick Mahomes, 262 yards and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt did okay for fantasy production. I was hoping for more, though, because the Raiders will give up fantasy points in bunches to running backs. I think they need to upgrade that position. I think they need to get a little bit more juice out of that squeeze. Travis Kelce, 10 balls caught, 90 yards, and a touchdown. He was going off. You look up at red zone, it's him catching another ball. Ball after ball. Xavier Worthy, we got 8 targets. 4 balls caught, 37 yards, but we got that touchdown. That touchdown saved you in fantasy football scoring. It saved you. Justin Watson, our deep threat dandy. Wasn't bringing in too many deep balls, but we got some opportunities. Honestly, after Worthy, there's not much to look at. DeAndre Hopkins, 3 targets. We are expecting a slow ramp up with him. Brock Bowers, 5 targets in this matchup. A good target share, 5 catches, 58 yards. Jacoby Myers is a guy to look at if he's there on waivers. He shouldn't be, but a guy that's going to be getting the workload. Trey Tucker, we did not hit 5 targets in this matchup. Bruce, you said it a few weeks ago. He'd be averaging about 5 targets a game. Alexander Madison, 5 catches, 29 yards. There's 7 points right there, and you got 15 yards on the ground, so he got you 8 fantasy points in this game. No touchdowns from what I see, so he's not really hitting it for you in fantasy, but he is a waiver wire dandy. Trey Tucker got you 7 yards on the ground, but Gardner Minshew, 2 touchdowns, 209 yards. You're going to have to eat it. If you started him, it's because you were desperate anyways. Bears versus Commanders. This one had the ending of the year. Jane Daniels fighting through that injury, came back. 326 yards and a touchdown. Air Yard City on that play. Air Yard City. Brian Robinson just pounding it up the gut. 65 yards on 16 carries. 4.1 yards per carry. Austin Eckler, 52 yards on the ground. Jane Daniels, 52 yards on the ground as well. Coming back from an injury. Terry McLaurin, hit for you. Good enough. 125 yards, 5 balls caught. That's like, what, 17 points? Zach Ertz, 7 balls, 77 yards. Shouldn't be on waivers, especially in matchups like this. Noah Brown with that big touchdown. That big touchdown. He's been in some of our waiver wire videos, but not a guy like you trust. More like if you're like in a 14-plus teamer in fantasy football. 12-teamer, you cannot like talk yourself into starting him. Brian Robinson, 1 catch for 11 yards. Luke McCaffrey, 1 catch, so he got a little bit of work. I saw that catch on the red zone. It felt like he was getting a lot more. Rome Odunze, 3 catches for 41 yards, 7 fantasy points. Keenan Allen got you 5. DJ Moore got you 4. I missed on the Bears offense here. And DeAndre Swift, though, was the guy to look at here. 129 yards and a touchdown going off. Caleb Williams got you 4 points on the ground, but just 131 yards in the air. This was a slow game for him. But this was one of the funnest games of the season, best ending of the year. You were watching it on Red Zone, even though it was a low-scoring game. Not much action, really, but there was action going on. It was a fun one. But Bears lose it in the end. Commanders take it home. Those are the buy, sells, holds, and trades from Week 8. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.